Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Wednesday morning. Hope everyone is doing well today. So I guess we are a good number now, so we should be able to start. So hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyaro, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. Want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, we as a Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we are taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John in the back office, so he will be here to assist in whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. But if you'd like me to answer any question, please ask those questions in the Q&A section, as I will be addressing all of them at the end of the webinar. So we can jump straight into it. So we'll start off with sharing my screen. So I hope everyone can see. So we'll start off as usual with our watch list. So here's our watch list for today. So there's been a big change to what we were looking at yesterday and what we're looking at today. So yesterday, our focus was looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar. And we were mixing and matching all those pairs with the pairs on the buy side. So we had the Australian dollar, the euro, the British pound, the New Zealand dollar, the Japanese yen, as well as the Swiss franc. Now, today, there's been a number of fundamentals, and even earlier, yesterday as well, that did end up changing our watch list. So our focus today, as you can see, there's been a mass exodus from pairs from the buy side moving to the sell side. So our focus today is going to be looking for buying opportunities on the Swiss franc as well as the British pound. And we're going to mix and match these two pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So that's the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, similar to yesterday. However, we have the New Zealand dollar, the euro, the Japanese yen, as well as the Australian dollar that have moved to the sell side. So that's our watch list for today. So let's jump into the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. Before we do have a look at a few screenshots, then we'll jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Remember, I did mention that there was some portion with the Australian dollar where they could be pulling back to some major bias areas. So initially, when we're having this webinar, we can see the market was within this particular location. We wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to hold below or give us some sort of probe and hold above. But you can see the price actually held below. That was around 10 o'clock, but the price continued coming down lower. Wanted to see what ended up happening within this bias area. And you can see at 3 o'clock, we did end up getting the price coming down lower. We're hoping to see either a probe within this particular area or the price to hold above for us to look for buys. But once the price ended up reaching this area to the downside, and you can see on the pullback, the price held below. This pair, unfortunately, did fall off our watch list. So there was no trading opportunity for us yesterday. So moving on to the next currency pair we did also have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Remember, yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities on this currency pair. You can see when we were discussing the market, the price was within this particular area, very close towards the sellers, and wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting the price breaching and holding above or get a pullback. So you can see the price looked as if it was attempting to break this area to the upside, but on the pullback, you can see the price never held above. It actually came back in and held below, so there was no trading opportunity just yet at that point in time. You can see at 3 o'clock, the price was still within the seller's area, but we did end up getting the price attempting to come down lower around 4:30 or so. Unfortunately, we did miss our buyer's area right here, and it seems that the price ended up coming to some sort of support and resistance area right here, and that's where the market did end up bouncing off from. So unfortunately, we did not get the price all the way to the bottom area there, but if you did manage to grab that buying opportunity there, you should have made sure to manage your trade within this problem area. Because right now, at least today, this is a pair that are both on the same side. So that's the reason why it is going to be off our watch list for today. So hope that's clear. We move on to the next pair for review. So we did have the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. And remember, on this kind of pair, our bias yesterday was to look for buying opportunities. Remember, I did point out that it looked as if the price could potentially end up probing within this particular area. Remember, I also did point out once the price breaches and goes below this red support and resistance area, this pair does fall off our watch list. So you can see the market did manage to break this area to the upside, and you can see the price did end up giving us a pullback. So if you go down to the 3-minute time frame, should be able to see how that pullback came in. So we're hoping to see the pullback coming in a bit lower. Unfortunately, did not get all the way to this problem area that we're hoping for before the market did continue going up till this particular problem area. And you can see once it approaches problem area, and if you do note the timing, so it was around 3 o'clock during the US market open, and we were within a seller's area. You can see the price did end up coming down. And there was some news at 3:30, and you can see this huge spike that did end up coming in. So there was a possibility if you did end up having a pending order there and you take profit there, your trade might still have worked because you can see the price just spiked all the way down and it came right back up all the way to the top within the first 3 minutes of the US market opening. But unfortunately, once the price came down lower and was actually holding below this particular area, unfortunately, it did fall off our watch list yesterday. Even though today morning, you can see the market still been managed to come in quite aggressive. And you can see when the price came back in, it came back and held above. So there was a small potential buying opportunity if you were still trading the Asian session. But unfortunately for us today, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list. So you could end up finding this market just ranging between these two levels. So let's move on to the next pair that we did have yesterday for review. We did have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, but also pointed out there seems to be some sort of problem area right here where the sellers seem to have been reacting. Even they did end up reacting earlier in the morning. So we did point out that if we did end up getting the price reaching this area to the upside, at least getting a selling opportunity at the top there, would have been nice, but you can see the market did not really do anything. And that's a similar situation which we'll end up seeing on most of the yens, where the price is just bounced between these two levels, not really going anywhere. So there's no real activity where the big boys were actually interested in the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. But we can see the price attempting to come down now. But unfortunately, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list because we did end up having some yen fundamentals, which are meant to be showing us some weakness, meaning the price should be going up higher. But remember, there is a lot of government intervention, so we don't know whether or not they will still bring that in, where you could end up finding the price coming down lower. So fortunately for us, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we did have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Remember, similar situation, our bias in this pair was to look for buying opportunities, and the price looked as if it had actually approached this particular buyer's area, where we wanted to see if we could end up getting the price reaching to the upside, coming back and holding above, we could have potentially looked for a buying opportunity. Now, you can see it did end up attempting to do that, where the price actually ended up holding above, attempting to go up, but unfortunately could not really go far because by 3 o'clock, once the US market came in, there were some US fundamentals that did come in that did bring in a bit of strength, where you can see the price really did come down quite aggressive. And as soon as it did that, this pair did fall off our watch list. And you can see a similar situation where the price has managed to pull back to this same support and resistance area. And you can see the price has not been able to actually break to the upside, does still seem to be holding to the downside. So unfortunately, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list today and did not necessarily give us the best opportunities yesterday. So moving on to the next pair we did have. Now, the euro against the US dollar worked out pretty well yesterday. Remember, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. The market seemed to be in some sort of range. But remember, I did point out that the price could come towards some sort of support and resistance area that we did have. So I did highlight this particular area. And you can see the illustration that had pointed out. So we're hoping to see if the price came down lower, could have potentially looked for a buying opportunity here. But it seems that during the London session, the price actually ended up managing to hold within this area. So there was a buying opportunity during the London session. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to the top. However, remember, we always point out, make sure you're managing your trades within the market opening times as well. So if you've entered a trade during the London session, by the time 3 o'clock is coming, don't just leave your trade open. Make sure you've done some trade management, either closing some of your position or moving the stop loss to break even. Because you can see from 3 o'clock, the price did end up coming down lower and actually pulling the illustration that we ended up having here, where you can see the price ended up bouncing off this particular level, holding, showing evidence that the price could not actually go lower before the market did manage to actually continue going up higher. And you can see the price has managed to come back all the way to this main seller's area that we did have yesterday. But unfortunately for us, there is a possibility that this pair could just continue ranging between these two levels. Even when you look at the strength of the buyer doesn't necessarily look that strong. So that's the reason why there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list today, and we could easily find this market ranging. So hope you guys managed to grab that buying opportunity yesterday, but unfortunately today, it's not going to be on our watch list. So moving on to the next currency pair we did have, the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation with the other New Zealand dollar pair that we did have a look at, where it did look as if it was probing this particular area. And you can see a similar situation if we do go down to the 3-minute. Once the price did manage to come to the upside, we wanted to see the price actually holding above, or at least giving us a pullback within the support and resistance area. Unfortunately, it just held within this seller's area. The seller did not necessarily give us that much of a reaction before the price managed to continue going up. But similar situation, if you do take note of, if you did manage to grab your buying opportunity and you closed your trade at 3, You can see you have managed to close the trade right there at the top before the US big boys did come in and bring this price down lower. We can see similar correlation even with the other New Zealand dollar pair where we did look at, where the price did manage to actually come back in during the Asian session. But we could easily find this market actually ranging between these two levels. And that's the reason why this pair is going to be off our watch list for today. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next currency pair that we did have, which was the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, on this currency pair, remember that our bias was to look for selling opportunities. And we have seen that something similar with all these yen pairs where yesterday they did not necessarily move that much. You can see during the Asian session, they were quite active because we are dealing with the Asian big boys. And since we're dealing here with the yen, so they're most active during that time. But you can see the price did manage to come up, but during the London session, price just ended up ranging, as well as during the US session. You can see the price ended up holding between these two levels right here. So no real movement that did end up happening, except once the price did manage to do this similar illustration that we're hoping for, where the price managed to actually come back in and hold below, because you can see none of the times that the market did be able to do that. And you can see it seems during the Asian session, that's when the trade really did end up working out, coming all the way back down towards this particular area. Unfortunately, today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. You can't even see the way these buyers are reacting. Could easily find that this is some sort of incitement before the market attempts to go up high. So unfortunately, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So I hope that is clear on all the kind of pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be focusing on today. So before we do look at the pairs where we're going to be looking at, let's have a look at a few screenshots that we did manage to get from a number of you guys. So we do have Andre. Andre did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on the British pound against the US dollar. Multiple buys right there at the bottom. Seems like you're really confident in this trade. Happy to see that the market is coming up in your favor. Your stop losses are still below your entry, but as the price is going up, I think by this time you can be able to start moving your stop losses a bit higher to minimize that risk. But very, very good job on this trade, Andre, and keep up the good work that you're doing as well. So also next, we did get Christine Washara. We did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on gold. Very nice buy right there at the bottom. You can see the price already coming up very well in your favor. Prices approach a seller's air, but happy to see already that you've brought your stop loss above your entry. So you have definitely secured a lot of profit in that particular area. So very, very well done this trade, Christine, as well. So also next, we did get George Chege. We did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the euro against the Japanese yen. We'll end up having a look at it. It seems that you did end up grabbing the trade within that particular range. So you did grab the buy at the bottom right here, waited for the price within a support and resistance area, and you did close your trade right there at the top. So very, very well done this trade, George Chege. And you also did grab a selling opportunity on oil. So it seems that you're grabbing multiple sells right here, and it seems that you're managed your trades quite well. You can see your selling opportunity right there at the top. As the price comes down, you secured some more. When the price came down a bit more, you secured a lot more. And as it's continued going down lower, is you're securing and you are also moving your stop loss lower. So you're making sure that you're maximizing as much from the trade and making sure that also, just in case the markets turn against you, you are going to end up being safe and at least making some money. So very, very well done for this trade, George. So also next, we did get Steve Canam. You did manage to grab a buying opportunity on gold. Sorry, a selling opportunity right here. You can see a sell right there at the top as the price is coming down lower. Happy to see that. Stop loss is still above your entry, but that's okay. Hope to see as the price comes down low, you do end up managing your trade within that problem area. But you also did manage to grab a buying opportunity. So you did end up grabbing both the buys, and once the price got to a problem area, you did end up selling. So very, very well done, where it seems that the markets actually did end up hitting their take profit. So very, very good job on this trade, Steve, and keep up the great work that you've been doing. So guys, remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, we'll be very happy to see that your screenshots and your progress. So feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So right now, we're going to focus on the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match that with the pairs on the sell side, do the same thing with the British pound pairs before we do have a look at gold, silver, and the indices as well. So we'll start off with the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, on this kind of pair, we didn't have it yesterday, and our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, but yesterday, when we were discussing this market, the price looked as if it had already broken this particular area, and it had come all the way down within this particular location. Remember, I did point out on the pullback, what we wanted to see was the price actually holding below. But you can see as the price came back up, it never actually held below. It came straight back in and held above. But you can see the price managed to go all the way back up till the main seller's area. And if you do note the time, this was just around 3 o'clock when the US market did end up opening. So if you did have some sort of pending order there, you'd have made money. If you missed that trade, you can see later on, once the price managed to break this area to the downside and was holding below, you could have looked for selling opportunities. And remember, we did point out that area, that where the price ends up turning from. Ideally, if the price ended up holding, this is the area where you should end up targeting. And you can clearly see that it ended up working quite well yesterday. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. We do seem to be trending quite nicely to the downside. So overall, we'll be looking for selling opportunities based on these three areas. So aggressive sells right here at the top. So if the price ends up coming all the way up to the top here, we could end up still looking for selling opportunities. Only if the price breaks and holds above the red support and resistance area, will we no longer be looking for selling opportunities, and this pair will fall off our watch list. So right now, since we are looking for sales and we're within a buyer's area, we need one of two things. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price coming back in within this particular problem area, price holding below before we're able to look for selling opportunities. Or alternatively, you could end up still waiting for the price actually to break this area to the downside. And wherever it gets to, and you do see the pullback coming in and the price falls below, if you do manage to grab that selling opportunity, do make sure you manage your trade within that same low where the price started giving you that pullback. So as long as you make sure you manage your trade there, because anything after that is not necessarily guaranteed. But at least if you manage your trade there, move your stop losses to break even. If the prices continue going, you still maximize on your money. If it closes there, or at least it starts turning there, at least you've still come out with some profit. So we wait to see what ends up happening on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. But for right now, we need one of two things, either the breach or the pullback to come in within this buy area. So I hope that's clear on the game plan of the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. As we move on to the next Swiss franc pair we do have, which is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, overall, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Now, we can see the three areas that we did end up pointing out, and we did realize that the market seemed to be in some sort of range, bouncing between these two levels. So we wanted to see if we could grab a selling opportunity. And initially, you can see the price managed to actually go all the way to the upside during the London session. At 3 o'clock during the US market open, the price was within the seller's area. Did end up giving us a probe. The price came back in. There was a pullback showing confirmation that the price was holding below within this particular area. And that move actually ended up starting at 4:30. You can see that's when the price actually started coming down. So there was a very nice selling opportunity then during the US session. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we have identified these three levels, or at least we'll still stick with the same three levels that we did end up having yesterday. Aggressive sellers right there at the top. Right now, we have reached this particular area where we do look as if we're holding below. And we also have the main buyers area down here at the bottom. Now, we have identified also, there seems to be some sort of small level, or at least some buyers area right here at the bottom where we do have this blue support and resistance area. And you can see how many times the price has actually managed to reach and seems to be bouncing off this particular area. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully, we can end up getting this price coming back in, showing us confirmation it's really holding below for us to look for a sell. Or if we do miss that trade, if we are able to get the price breaching and holding below this particular area, we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities, ideally targeting all the way down now to the bottom area right there. So we wait to see what ends up happening. Right now, we're so close to a seller's area as well as a buyer's area, so we need one of the breaches to happen. If it breaches to the upside, chances are we could still be coming back all the way to the top before we're able to look for those selling opportunities on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at on this kind of pair. As we move on to the next Swiss franc pair, which is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, this is a brand new entry on our watch list, because remember, both the New Zealand dollar and the Swiss franc were both on the same side yesterday. But today, the bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we will be looking out for the sell. So we have the main aggressive sellers right there at the top. So as long as we're holding below this particular seller's area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. Now, the buyers did come in quite aggressive within this particular bottom area right here, but that's okay, because remember, we want to see, as long as we're holding below the red support and resistance area, the bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of small pullback to see the price coming approaching this particular area, could potentially look for a selling opportunity there, or if we do miss that trade, can end up waiting for the price to breach and hold below this particular area. for us to look for selling opportunities to come down lower. But remember, always watch out for areas where buyers have reacted. Even if you're looking for those selling opportunities, if you take note of how the buyers pushed up, yes, the buyers pushed up within this particular area, this is a probe, but you can see there's another push within the buyers right here. So even if you do grab your selling opportunity and you're targeting all the way down here, do some trade management when it does approach this buyer's area, because if they have reacted from there before, there's a possibility that they could end up reacting from there again. So we wait to see what ends up happening, or potentially we could end up jumping into some sort of range on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So we wait to see what ends up happening, but I hope that's clear on what the game plan is on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair we do have, which is the euro against the Swiss franc, brand new entry on our watch list. And one thing we always take note of is the market structure. If you realize we're not trending, we do seem to be ranging between these two levels. So we do have the top of the range right there. Right now, we do seem to be at the bottom of the range at the moment. So obviously, if we are looking for trading, for selling opportunities on this particular range, the best place to look for the sells is at the top. Ideally, looking for the buys right now might not necessarily be the best idea. Obviously, there's sometimes, yes, it will end up working where you could easily find the price coming to the upside. It depends on how the London big boys end up reacting. But be aware, since overall we are going to be looking for sells, there's still a high probability that this support and resistance area could be breached to the downside. And the reason why we say that is have a look at the past times that the price has actually gotten to that area. Whenever the price approaches here, look at the aggressive reaction. Price comes here, look at that move to the upside. It really bounces off this area quite quickly. And you can see each and every time that has happened. But right now, look at the kind of reaction that's happening. It seems that the buyers who are attempting to buy within this area are no longer there anymore. And there's an easy possibility that this price could actually break this area to the downside. And when you see the price holding below, you could end up easily finding the price going all the way down to the bottom. That's the reason why we always encourage, ideally wait for a market to be breached, or if you're going to take that buy, remember I did point out, you want to see aggressive buyers coming in. Similar situations to how they've showed up before. Once you see that, then you could end up potentially taking a small counter before looking for your selling opportunities at the top. But for right now, we would encourage you to possibly just be on the bias of the sell side and look for your selling opportunities either at the top or once the price breaches this area to the downside. So I hope that's clear on the euro against the Swiss franc. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair we do have, which is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now, this is a pair that we did not have yesterday or at least this week. So overall, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see, yes, the sellers did come down quite aggressive. The buyers have pulled back up, where you can see they have managed to go to the upside. Couldn't get all the way till the main seller's area. It does seem that it has reacted within some sort of small support and resistance area where the price does seem to be coming down lower. But if you compare how the sellers came down in comparison to how the sellers are coming down now, they do seem as if they're coming in a bit slower. So wait to see if we can still grab our buying opportunities at the bottom right there. We do have a support and resistance area right here in the middle where you can see it was holding as a resistance area as well as a support. Right now, the fact that the price looks as if it's breaking this area to the downside, we'll wait to see if we can grab our buying opportunities lower down. Or if you do end up finding that this is not really a real breach and you find the price coming back in and holding above. If you do see that, you can be able to look for your buying opportunities, even though you'll be targeting all the way to the top right here where the main sellers are. The fact that sellers have reacted from this area before multiple times, do make sure you do some sort of trade management just in case the market does end up reacting from that location again. But be aware, if we do end up breaking and holding below the red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watches. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. As we move on to the last Swiss franc pair that we do have, which is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Australian dollar pairs are showing a lot of weakness. So overall, our bias here is definitely going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see we do seem to be trending quite nicely, where we do have the main sellers right here who push this area to the downside. So as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. We can see this support and resistance area, which was an area of support. Once it reached the downside, you can see on the pullback, it has become an area of resistance. So we'll be waiting to see if we can grab selling opportunities on this. But right now, the fact that the market has already reacted from that location and we're so close towards this particular bias area, there's nothing for us to do just yet. We need either one of two things. We might find that this price is not good enough, where the price ends up coming here within this particular area and you see the buyers reacting. You see the buyers coming back in, there's a possibility if this price is not good enough, you could easily find the market looking as if it's breaking that area to the upside. where most people now start looking for buys. Then you find the market doesn't actually hold above. It ends up being a probe. And when you do see that and the price holds below, you could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity. But if that doesn't happen and you do end up getting the price breaking this support and resistance area to the downside, what we want to see, remember, is the price holding below before we're able to look for those selling opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So I hope that's clear on what we're looking at. This one is pretty clear cut. It says that the trade did end up working out a bit earlier, but hopefully we should still be able to grab some selling opportunities on this currency pair. So hope that's clear. As you can clearly see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc pairs with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to do the exact same thing with the British pound pairs. So we'll start off with the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this currency pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, during the London session, remember where the price was so close towards the seller's area, and we said one of two things: either a breach to the upside and the price holding above for us to continue looking for buying opportunities, or we get that pullback coming in within this particular support and resistance area. Now, you can see when the market attempted during the London session to break this area to the upside, you can clearly see the price never held above. That just ended up being a probe. So all those late people, all those late buyers, we did end up definitely getting stopped out because obviously all their stop losses were right below this particular area. So unfortunately, if you did end up not waiting, you could have easily been stopped out. And you can see during the US session, the market actually ended up spiking at 3:30. You can see there was a huge wick where the market still did manage to bounce off this particular area and come up. So there was a small buying opportunity then. But if you did miss that and you were awake, or at least still in the market later on in the evening yesterday, you can see at around 8 o'clock, we still did get a pullback within that area before the market had attempted to go to the upside. So today, since we did end up having some British pound fundamentals that were coming out at 9 o'clock, and that's one of the reasons why we did start a few minutes late, it does seem that the British pound pairs are showing a lot of strength, and chances are we'll end up having to see this same exact strength coming in all the other British pound pairs. So overall, in this currency pair, we do want to look for buying opportunities. So right now, the fact that the price is going to the upside, which is okay for us, what we want to see is that pullback coming in. So hopefully, if we can get that pullback and the price holds above, we should be able to look for buying opportunities. So we'll see what ends up happening, but there's a possibility even right here on the 3-minute, it might have already done that. But we can clearly say the price came up, has given us a pullback, showing us evidence the price is holding above, and we might end up finding this price continue to go up higher. If it does, that's okay. Ideally, we'll just wait to see when the pullback is going to come in and watch out for those market opening times. Remember, that's 10, 3, and 4:30. But let's have a look at it on the higher time frame. And you can see this is one of the highest places it has been in a very, very long time. So there's no real level, or at least unless we do end up going to a much, much higher time frame, could end up approaching some sort of seller's area. But for right now, I think the main thing to do is just wait for that pullback to come in. Let's work with these support and resistance areas. Even though we have this level location right here, watch out for the highest point as well. Because remember, this market, it is an area, right? So even though we are hoping that the market does pull back within this location, be aware that it could end up just coming back to where these wicks were, right? And before going to the upside. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but this is definitely showing that the big boys are interested in the British pound, so should you. So ideally, the best thing to do is just wait to see where you can get that pullback, or at least a discount before you're able to continue looking for those buys on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So hope that's clear on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. To move on to the next British pound pair, which is the British pound against the US dollar. Now, this kind of pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, during yesterday's session, you can see the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the downside, but did remember saying that we wanted to see the price coming back in, giving us a pullback and the price holding above, which you can see it did quite nicely. Let's say if we go down to the 3-minute time frame, you can be able to see that's exactly what the price did, where it managed to break this area to the upside. We did get a pullback coming in, showing us evidence that the price is holding above this particular area, and there was a small buying opportunity to take that market up. Now, the reason why we always encourage you to manage your trade within the market opening times is because you can see sometimes the markets might not necessarily get all the way to the problem areas that we wanted. But you can see if you did end up taking your trade there, and at 3 o'clock, or at least you did manage your trade, you'd have been able to get the market, or at least close your trade right there at the top before the US big boys did come in to stop all those late buyers out there. You can see the price did end up managing to come right here. And once the price came all the way down here, guaranteed many people now switch from a bias from a buy two, starting to look for selling opportunities. And you can clearly see the price still did manage to go to the upside. So today, buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We still focus on the exact same areas, and you can see the British pound strength that does seem to be coming in. So overall, we'll still be looking for those buys based on these three areas. Aggressive buys all the way down there at the bottom, but chances of it getting all the way down here are quite low. As you can see, as the price is breaking this area to the upside, we do have some sort of small support and resistance area. You can see the area where the market ended up turning from yesterday. You can see the way the price was holding within this area. The fact that the price is breaking this location to the upside, what you might easily find is a small pullback within this location before the price ends up going up higher. You do end up not finding that attractive, or at least a type of trade attractive, you could end up possibly waiting now for the breach to the upside, because it does seem as if the British pound is showing a lot of strength. And if the price ends up holding above, you should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities as well on the British pound against the US dollar. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but that's the overall game plan that we'll be looking at doing on this kind of pair. So let's move on to the next currency pair we do have, which is the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, a brand new entry in our watch list, and you can clearly see the way the prices had been going up for quite a bit, even though the market did manage to come down quite aggressive earlier today during the Asian session. You can see we have approached an area where they're buyers. So overall, in this currency pair, we're definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area. The price does breaks and holds below this red support and resistance area, this pair will definitely fall off our watch list. But you can see right now the buyers have reacted. We're approaching a seller's area where the sellers could potentially end up holding the market. So maybe what we could end up seeing is either a pullback coming in, and what we want to see is the sellers coming in much slower in comparison to how they came in within this particular area. We do see that, and you see the price holding within this particular area within one of the market opening time. Could end up looking for a buying opportunity then, or if you do end up waiting for a breach of this particular area and the price actually ends up holding above, then you should be able to look for buying opportunities, but do make sure you manage your trade within this seller's area at the top. If the price is not able to break this area, you could easily find these sellers still reactive. But you can clearly see how aggressive the sellers came in. You're not too sure whether or not the sellers could still react the same way again. So wait to see what ends up happening, but overall, definitely we'll be looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, moving on to the next currency pair we do have. Right here, we do have the euro against the British pound. Now, in this currency pair, overall, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. You can clearly see the way the market did come down quite aggressive. We did end up getting a pullback where the market seemed to have been holding within this particular area right here. So overall, since we are holding below at least this main seller's area right there at the top, we will be looking for selling opportunities. It does seem that the market has attempted to bounce within this particular area, so we could be in some sort of range. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. It seems that those fundamentals that did come out at 9 o'clock for the British pound, you can see how aggressive they brought this price down lower. So overall, we're definitely still going to be looking for selling opportunities, but we'll wait to see if we can end up getting the price coming down lower, or due to the fact that these sellers have reacted quite aggressive, what we might want to see is a small pullback coming in, could come in within one of these small support and resistance areas, might not necessarily get all the way till our problem area before we do end up seeing the price coming down lower. We wait to see what ends up happening within that location, but overall, if we don't necessarily get a selling opportunity just yet or no pullback, what we could end up waiting for is the price still managing to break this area to the downside. And when we get the price holding below, we should be able to look for selling opportunity. And you can see the importance of actually keeping the market, at least allowing the market to test the level to confirm that it's actually been broken. Because you can see these situations, these probes, if you did end up jumping on trades or just putting pending orders because a level has been broken, you could easily end up getting stopped out. So wait to see what ends up happening. But overall, since the bias here is to look for sells, let's wait to see whether or not we can grab some pullbacks coming in on these British pound pairs. So I hope that's clear on the British pound, the euro against the British pound. Let's move on to the next British pound pair we do have, which is the British pound against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. You can see this market seems to be in some sort of range after that huge Japanese intervention that did end up happening. You can clearly see this market seems to be bouncing between these two levels. So overall, since we are ranging, we are definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be looking for aggressive buys right there at the bottom. Definitely, since we're right here in the middle, it might not necessarily be the best place to look for any buys or sells, especially when the market is ranging. But if it's a big range, you do end up having that option. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. If we can get the price coming down lower, within this particular buyer's area. Hopefully we get some sort of probe or price action signal for us to look for buying opportunities. But be aware that even now, you could end up easily finding this is just a probe, because right now we are nearly approaching a small buyer's area. So if you do see the price actually coming back in and holding above, then you might find a nice buying opportunity coming through the upside. But remember, if we do end up breaching and holding below this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. Because remember, right now we're dealing with the yen pairs, so do end up trading it with a bit of caution, because we don't know whether or not there's going to be more intervention. And if you end up looking at all the other British pound pairs, if you realize all of them are showing strength except for the British pound against the yen. So they could have something to do with the yen pairs as well. So do make sure you do trade that with caution. But if you do see the price coming back and holding above, there is that small opportunity for a buy right there. So hope that's clear as we move on to the last British pound pair we do have. Brand new entry on our watch list is the British pound against the Australian dollar. As you can see, the way the price had managed to go to the upside quite well, we do seem to be trending quite nicely. The main buyer right here did manage to end up breaking. You can clearly see this support and resistance area. Once it did break to the upside, this became an area of interest, and you can clearly see that's exactly where the price approached. And at 9 o'clock, once these fundamentals for the British pound came in, you can clearly see they have managed to go all the way to the top. So overall, we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But if you notice where we are, we're very close to a seller's area. So we need one of two things. What could happen is the breach could end up happening within this area. When we do get that pullback, we should be able to look for buying opportunities as well. Now, just for that. Now, we could end up looking for buying opportunities as well on this kind of pair. Now, right now, due to the fact that we're within an area where there's sellers, what we might end up finding, can clearly see there's a small support and resistance area right here that was breached quite aggressively. So there's a possibility that you could end up finding the market coming down lower, not necessarily getting all the way to our buyer's area, but you could end up finding it approaching this particular location before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So just take note of that support and resistance area, because you might find the market being able to break that area to the upside. So that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the Swiss franc as well as the British pound with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now, we're going to have a look at the indices before we do have a look at gold and silver. Now, so we start off here with the NASDAQ, the NAS 100. Now, yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. It's still the same situation today, and you can see the market did end up acting quite well yesterday. Remember, I did point out, dealing with the NAS 100, it's mainly active during the US session. So you can see, even though we're hoping to see a selling opportunity coming in, where it did start during the London session, where the price managed to start coming down lower, it ended up approaching this small buyer's area before the pullback did end up coming in. Now, if you compare the size of the candles during the London session and the Asian session, the London sessions were a bit bigger, but now compare it once the US market did come in. Because you can see the price still did manage to give us a pullback within this area at 3, but at 4:30, that's when the market actually did take off. A quick sell right there, all the way to the bottom. So you could have ended up taking that advantage of that trade quite nicely. So today, the fact that the market has now attempted to actually break this area to the downside, which is okay. We'll still be focusing on the exact same areas to look for those selling opportunities. Aggressive sells right there at the top. Now, due to the fact that this market has been ranging between these two levels, we might end up finding a very nice selling opportunity available for us. So what we could end up waiting to see is this pullback that comes in. This is going to be a very important pullback, because usually when the market ranges, once it breaks a certain level, either to the upside or downside, it will end up giving us a pullback towards that support and resistance area. And that it's very important to note whether or not it actually holds. Because remember, with ranges, they probe a lot. You can clearly see what ended up happening here. It looked like the price was breaking to the upside and really went quite far. It just ended up being a probe. So even right now, just because the price has come all the way down, there's a possibility that this could just easily be a probe, and you could easily find the market coming back in and staying within that range. But if we are able to get the price actually holding below within this area, we can be able to look at it on the 3-minute time frame or so, then we should be able to grab a selling opportunity within there. So let's say, for example, it ends up probing right there. Then if you do find that where the market has probed and the sellers, or at least aggressive sellers, come in, you could end up easily finding a very nice selling opportunity within there. Once the pullback comes in, you put your stop loss ideally above the area where the market did end up reacting. Ideally, if you are targeting all the way to the bottom, you could end up getting some nice risk to reward. But this only applies if we do end up getting confirmation that the price is actually going to be holding below this particular area. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but it does seem to be moving quite nicely at the moment. So Hope that's clear on the NAS 100 as we move on to the next index right here, which is the Dow Jones. So the Dow Jones really moved quite aggressive yesterday to the buy side. So they will end up hoping we manage to take advantage of this because you can clearly see the big movement that did end up happening yesterday makes all other movements, or at least the charts, look much slower. So if we do end up going back a bit, you can clearly see at least it looks a bit better right here. So yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities based on these three areas. And remember, I did point out that this market seemed to be in some sort of range. So if that was the case, the best place to look for the buy would have been at the bottom of the range. And you can see that's exactly what ended up happening. Did end up giving us an opportunity right here where the price ended up coming back down lower. This was during the London session. Tended to go up higher, couldn't do it at that point in time, but you can see the market still did give us a pullback during the US session. That's when the price, or at least just before the US session, that's when the price managed to actually break this area to the upside. And you can see we're hoping to see a pullback coming in. You don't necessarily see that much of a pullback before the price really did continue going to the upside. So today, the bias here is definitely still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we're focused on three areas. You can see the area that we've approached, the area where the sellers do seem to be reacting. So we don't want to buy anywhere close to that particular location. But you can see right now we've approached an area of interest, an area where the buyers could end up reacting within this particular area because it is a support and resistance area. And we have the main buyers all the way down here at the bottom. So right now, we will not necessarily encourage you to necessarily jump in on the buy just yet because you can see how aggressive these sellers have come in. So I think one of the main key things to do is remember, go down to the 3-minute time frame or so, have a look at how are the sellers coming in. Do we see aggressive buyers coming in within this location? If we do, could end up finding a nice buying opportunity available for us. But remember, this being the the US 30, this is going to be mainly active during the US session. So just even though you find an opportunity during the London session, don't think it has fully left you because the US big boys could come in and really move this market either for at least continue to the upside, or if you do break this area to the downside, this red support and resistance area to the downside, then ideally this pair will start now looking for selling opportunities. So as long as we're holding above the red SNR, we look for buys. If the price is below the red support and resistance area, we will be looking for selling opportunities. So we wait to see what ends up happening on the Dow Jones. So hope that's clear as we move on to the fan favorites. So we'll start off here with silver. Now on silver, yesterday our bias actually was to look for selling opportunities. Now we did have these three areas where the bias, or at least we were looking for those sells. Now initially we wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting the price either coming back all the way to the top for us to look for the sells, or getting up the price actually coming down lower, reaching and holding below that area to continue looking for those selling opportunities. But unfortunately, you can see the price did maintain within this area. At 3 o'clock, or at least between 3 and 4:30, was within this buyer's area. Buyers came in very aggressive. You can see the area we had with sellers. It did look as if it had reached the upside. And the fact that the market maintained within that location, ideally, it did end up giving us a sign that this price could continue going up higher, and we could have actually ended up changing our bias. So that being the case, that's the reason why yesterday we had it for sales, but today we will be looking for buying opportunities on silver. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. The main buyers who push this price up higher are all the way down here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our buyers should be to look for buying opportunities. Wait to see what ends up happening because I know the market was within some sort of range. You can see bouncing between these two levels right here. And after the price has gone up, wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to hold above. Fortunately, no hold above just yet, but that might not be the case later on. Because what you could easily find is that this could end up easily being approved. So we can see we're approaching an area where the buyers, so wouldn't be surprised if the price comes back in and holds above. And if we do see that, then you should be able to continue looking for those buying opportunities as well on silver. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, if the price breaks and falls below this red support and resistance area, then our buyers will switch and we'll start looking for selling opportunities on silver. So I hope the game plan is clear. Right now, since we are looks as if we're reaching this area to the downside, let's wait to see if we can still get the price either way coming all the way down here or that probe coming in. So let's move on to the last currency pair we do have, which is gold. You can see gold really did move quite aggressive and very nicely for us yesterday. You can see the two opportunities that we did end up getting yesterday during the London session as well as the US session. Remember where the price was? We were so close towards the seller's area. So remember we said we needed either a breach to the upside or a pullback. So it seems that the market, or at least the sellers were not interested in coming in. So the market didn't manage to break this area to the upside. There was a small buying opportunity during the London session. Fortunately, could not necessarily go that far because remember, we're dealing here with gold. Gold, as we, at least most of you know, is mainly active during the US session. So you can see at 3 o'clock, we did end up getting the price giving us a pullback. We do end up going down to the smaller time frame, the 3 minute, to see how that pullback did end up coming in and to see whether or not we did get confirmation that the price is holding above. So you can see once the price came down, and remember we had the level right here within this particular area. So once the price looked as if it was holding the downside, once we came back in and held above, this was around 4, but at 4:30, that's when the market really did take off and it did confirm that the price was holding above. So there would have been a small buying opportunity within this location. Even if you had your stop loss there, the price did end up really going up quite aggressive, giving some really good risk to reward. But today, buyers here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. You can see how aggressive the market has really gone to the upside. So overall, we'll definitely be looking for buys right here. So we have approached a major area where the sellers. So we don't want to buy anywhere close to that area. We do seem to be pulling back within the support and resistance area, which is very good for us. So we can see the main buyers are right here. So as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, our buyers is going to be looking for buying opportunities. And right now, if you compare how the buyers came up and now the sellers, want to see the sellers coming down slowly, which is a good sign is what we're seeing. So hopefully we can end up getting this price coming down a bit lower, giving us more of a discount, incites a few more people to look for sales. If you do see the price holding above and it's within this area, within one of the market opening times, either 10, 3, or 4:30. But since we're dealing with gold, either 3 or 4:30, we could end up finding a nice buying opportunity, making sure you manage your trade within the top area. But remember, since we're purely technical within the indices as well as gold and silver, if we're holding above the red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buys. If the price breaks below this red support and resistance area, our bias will switch and we will start looking for selling opportunities in gold. So I hope that's clear for all the kinds of pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with all the pairs on the sell side, including gold, silver, as well as the indices. So can be able to address a few questions if there are any. So I'm seeing a few questions here, or at least some comments. So I'm seeing Esther Gabriel saying, good morning, team. Great to be here. Glad that you're here, Esther. We're always happy to see you here, as well as Alan Jono. Karibu sana is saying, thanks a lot. You're most welcome. So not seeing any more questions, which is okay. That gives us a few minutes before we're able to jump onto the charts, at least before the London market does open. So let's see what ends up happening, or at least what the British pound does. So I'm seeing Metrine, you're asking me to display the Dow Jones. No problem. I will do that for you just now. I know you do love trading this kind of stuff, or at least this indices. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. Still looking for the buys, but we'll wait to see what ends up happening. These sellers have come down a bit aggressive for my liking. So we want to see a slowdown within there or some sign of buyers coming back in before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So I hope that's clear for you, Metrine. So I guess that's it from me. Guys, remember, if you do want to end up learning more, we do have the Amplified program. So you can end up be able to go to Afriforex.com, can be able to sign up free of charge, at least for now, to see if you're actually interested. Right here, it is the Amplified Masterclass program. So you can be able to check it out, sign up right here, and we'll see whether or not we can end up fitting you in one of the classes. So we can see we've opened up the August and September classes. The August classes are nearly full already. So we'll wait to see. Hopefully you can end up signing up for that as well. So I'm seeing one more question. I'm seeing Figure Moroda is saying, hey, Mitch, is the red support line the same as a pivot? Not necessarily, because we don't necessarily use a pivot points. The main thing that we focus on, you might find that they could end up aligning, but our main focus is where the buyers are, where the sellers are. So this is a concept that we do end up teaching within the masterclass course called zones. So there are certain areas where we're within a buyer's zone or seller's zone, and if you're holding the market within a particular area, anything above that, you're still looking for a buy, or anything below that, you're still looking for a sell. So we know that who the buyer who was the one who reached this area to the upside, because you can see there was a buyer right here, managed to make a new high. There was a pullback, but the buyer who managed to break this high is right here, who did manage to go to the upside. So we do know if this buyer is not actually interested in the market manages to actually break and hold below that area, then there's a high chance that right now we will be now looking for selling opportunity. That's where now it switches. So you can be able to use it sometimes, but it's not our main focus as pivot points, right? Or pivot lines. I hope I've answered your question, Hilda. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I'm not seeing any more questions. We do have at least 5 minutes, so let's hope that we can end up being able to look at what pairs are active. Remember, take note of when the news events are coming out. So we do have some Euro news during the London session at 12, some CPI news. So expect some volatility at that time. So if you are in on any trades, Euro trades at that time, do make sure you do manage them then. But after that, you can see the main news that are going to come out during the US session. So apart from the news at 12 o'clock, the London session might not necessarily be that active, but we definitely will see a lot of movement, especially since we did have some British pound news that did come out during the Frankfurt market open. So the Frankfurt market open happened an hour before the London market opens. So for them, they've seen what data has come out already. So you'll find that maybe at 10 o'clock, that's when the big boys have actually decided what they're going to do, whether or not they're still going to be buying the British pound and continue taking it to the upside. So if you find them within nice locations, you could find some nice trading opportunities there. So I want to guys, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. Hope you guys learn a lot and as well as make some good tips in the markets as well. So I want to thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. God bless. Happy trading and bye for now. Cheers, guys.